Hello Year 3, we're now going to continue with our history learning on the Iron Age. We're going to begin our lesson like we would in class with a knowing more and remembering more activity. I want you to make sure you're writing your answers in your exercise book. Number 1, agriculture is mining, smelting and working metal like iron. Do you think that's true or false? Number 2, which tool would be used to grind wheat and other cereal grains into flour? An ard plough, a rotary quern, a loom or a bronze cauldron? Number 3, what does population mean? And number 4, why did the population increase in the Iron Age? Now, I'm going to give you a moment to just reflect on your answers, check that you're happy, before I move on to the next slide. Now, the next slide will have the answers and you're going to self-assess and make sure you make any corrections that you need to. Number 1, agriculture is mining, smelting and working metal like iron. Now, that is false. It is farming, growing crops and raising livestock. Number 2, which tool would be used to grind wheat and other cereal grains into flour? And that's a rotary quern. Number 3, what does population mean? The amount of people living. And number 4, why did the population increase in the Iron Age? And it increased because of increased food production, and this led to an increase in the population. So now we're going to move on with our learning on what did people in the Iron Age believe. So now you can see your knowledge organiser. And the vocabulary that we're going to focus on in this lesson is a chariot. Now this is a vehicle with 2 wheels used in ancient times. A chariot was pulled by horses and driven from a standing position. A votive offering, which is a gift, for example, jewellery or weapons, made to specific gods to say thank you or ask for help. And key places that we're going to be looking at are rivers and lakes, because the Celtic people believed that natural places, such as lakes and woods, were special. They made votive offerings of weapons, jewellery and other objects to spirits and gods they believed in. And if you now look at the timeline, you'll see that from around 200 BC, many detailed bronze and gold objects were made. So now we're going to look at our vocabulary. Now, I do want you to make sure you are repeating this at home. The key words that you know: archaeologist, burial, iron, bronze. Key words that you will meet: belief, votive offering, nature, cremated, cremation. Now, in Llyn Cerrig Bach, in 1942, over 150 Iron Age objects were found in the lake. They found an iron sword, a bronze crescent-shaped plaque, blacksmith tongs, and if you look now into the box in the corner, we also know there were 7 swords, 6 spearheads, fragments of a shield, part of a bronze trumpet, chariot parts, blacksmith's tools, fragments of 2 cauldrons, iron bars, animal bones. Now, scientific analysis of the artefacts show that they were not placed inside the lake all at once. So what does finding all of these artefacts inside a lake suggest? And what do we know about the objects? What were they made of? So pause the video here and write your answers. So we know that different objects were placed at different times in a lake. This means it wasn't an accident. They were deliberately placed inside the lake. Now, we do know that Iron Age people deliberately put objects into the ground. We do know that some objects were highly decorative. But why would someone get rid of something that is valuable? Now, the objects are usually metal. That's how we know they're valuable, because iron was a valuable material to Iron Age people, involving much effort and hard work to create. In Battersea, London, in England, this highly decorative shield was discovered in the River Thames. But again, why would someone get rid of something valuable and beautiful? Archaeologists believe these artefacts are offerings to gods by Iron Age people. At Snettisham, Norfolk, 11 metal hoards, which are collections of valuable items, were found within a large field. They included gold and silver torques, which is a neck ornament, a bit like a necklace, coins, and metal bars that may have been used as money. Why did they not come back for these valuable torques? A votive is a gift made to the gods to say thank you or ask for help. Archaeologists believe this shield may have been placed in the River Thames as an offering to the god of the river. What do you think the Iron Age people were asking for help with or giving thanks for with this shield? Where did these votives offerings happen? So we know that Llyn Carrickbach in Wales. We know Winchester in England, there was a hoard of jewellery found and buried in the ground. And we know about the shield in the River Thames in London. All of these places were rivers, lakes, or open countryside. So think to yourself, what does this tell us and suggest about the Iron Age beliefs? The Celtic region was closely linked to the natural world, and they worshipped gods in sacred places like rivers, lakes, cliffs, and bushes. In fact, when Romans arrived in the late Iron Age, they wrote about how the Iron Age people had many gods. Now, what votive offering would you place and why? So, for example, my votive offering would be my pen to ask for help with my homework. Or my votive offering would be a pan to give thanks for all the great food I have eaten. Now, as a challenge, I want you to also think about where would you place it and why. So now pause the video and write your answers in your exercise book before you resume with the slides. So, what can we learn from the Iron Age burial practices? There isn't a great deal of archaeological evidence for Iron Age burial practices, but what can we interpret from the little to no evidence? Archaeologists believe, because there is little to no evidence, that most people in the Iron Age were cremated or left outside in natural spaces instead of buried in the ground. This is different to the Bronze Age, as we have evidence of deliberate burials at Stonehenge and in other areas. Have a little think, what do we remember about the Iron Age ideas about nature? What evidence do we have for Iron Age burials? In Cornwall, cemeteries of pit graves sometimes lined with stone. In East Yorkshire, burials with chariots and horses. Now, I want you to think now about each of these images and how it is connected to Iron Age people and their beliefs. So you're going to write a couple of sentences for each one. You've got a word bank with votive offering, nature, natural, country, lake, burial, and open air. Now, if you do need a little bit of assistance, there are some sentence starters to help you. And don't forget also to go back and have a little look at the challenge of how do we know about Iron Age beliefs? Name and explain the evidence archaeologists used to work out what Iron Age people believed in. So you're going to pause now and you're going to write your answers. And then when you resume, we're now going to test our knowledge. So this is the answer. What is the question? A gift to thank or ask for help from the gods. Nature, lakes, rivers, and open countryside, fields, trees, and bushes. In different ways around the country, but mostly dead people were left in the open natural spaces or cremated. So in your exercise book, I want you to think about what that question might be. Make sure you link it to our learning today. Now these slides are also being uploaded to Purple Mash, and of course if you do need to, you can go back to the video and watch it again.